right. Well, I didn't have a bell or a hammer today to start us, but we are welcome everybody to our Zoom Rotary meeting. And I'm excited to be able to honcho this for everybody and talk a little bit about some of the things that we're going to be doing. I just want to make sure that we all know that um, that we have quite a bit going on with our Future Vision Task Force implementation. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that the membership team is rolling out a new member orientation program that includes assigning a Rotary mentor to each new member of our club. And so I'm hoping that anybody that might be interested in being a mentor to a new Seattle Rotarian would either contact Steve Morris or Jorge Chapa. And Stephen Morris is our vice president in charge of new members. And so hopefully we will have a whole bunch of them. And as you can see by your screens, you'll see that there are a number of people that have joined us already. I also want to thank Candy Lee, on our finance team, as well as Jeff Parker, who have been keeping us going. We've had a lot of new net tech uh, involvement, and they have done a super job. Matt Bratling has done a wonderful job of providing us with help on the tech side, and this is most worthwhile for us and cost effective for us. I know Jeff is very happy about that, right, Jeff? Okay, everybody. And at this particular point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our club director, Mary Goldie, who's going to give us a little bit of an update.
Yeah, so hello everyone. I just wanted to give you all a little update of some responses to our venue situation we've got going on right now. Recently we've moved to Plymouth Church. The board passed a budget last year, splitting our budget into club operations budget and then meeting expense budgets. So we have two separate budgets we're working with right now. So yeah, so it's kind of into a bit of confusion. So
Thanks.
just to give you all a kind of a breakdown of different, meeting attendance, different meeting costs that we've seen recently. So you all kind of have a clear idea of, what we're taking in money wise versus, the actual cost of things. So as you can see here, Plymouth is our most affordable option right now. With the August 7th meeting for the venue, Third Reel doing the AV, not Live Oak. All of that in was, 26.25. And then you can see down the line, the July 10th Weston meeting cost with Live Oak AV and so on and so forth. And so these numbers, you can tell there's a wide variety of numbers here. And this is dependent on like our guarantee. Like I can tell you the Weston 710 meeting, we had a higher guarantee for that because it was the first meeting of the Rotary year. So that's why that's higher. Steelheads Alley, that was food for 90. The private event space rental was a little costly, as you can see there. And then Motif Hotel is, more affordable for us as opposed to the Weston. But like I said, like the meeting guarantees are a little different on each of these to show you the variation. But you know what? It's expensive to put on our meetings. So say we're, doing $40 tickets for lunch right now. If we have 85 attendees, you see what that nets us and then, and then see our actual costs. So there's quite a disconnect there. So I'm trying to find, some different types of venues for us to visit that are more in line with our budget, but could offer a more elevated experience that our members are used to. So to that end, advance this. To that end, I've been doing some venue research and we've gotten some quotes back for 100 people. And so this is with AV included, triple door, coming in a little lower than the hotels. Pier 55 looking like a really good option for us right now. And then the WAC we got a quote back for, and it's kind of more in line with our hotel costs. So, like I said, I'm continuing to do venue research to find a good home for us that would be slightly more elevated than Plymouth. But you know, a lot of this is budget dependent. A lot of this is you know, what we're charging for lunch, and AV. You know, if we can have AV done on site at a reasonable rate, it's often more affordable than bringing in our own AV team. But I just want you all to know that I'm continuing to look at this, continuing to work on this, but that, you know, at the end of the day, the club is acting on the board approval of the future vision recommendations in the report. So while you're seeing changes that might be surprising to you right now, it's in line with, you know, what we found through our future vision work, and the board has approved this work and work on the recommendations to move forward. And so we're doing that. And you know, I've kind of learned a lot the past few weeks, and one of them is just like, you know, like where are our priorities? You know, what do we value as a club? And you know, is service at the front of fore here if we're worried about our meeting lunches and our venues and stuff like that? Not necessarily. So, you know, let's maybe try to think about, you know, how we can help each other and help others. Maybe a little more than where we're having our meetings. So this is Pier 55. I just put these photos here because they sent me some nice photos of the space. It's on the waterfront. It would seat our group. So it's very lovely. So it could be an option for us in the future. So just want y'all to see that. And before I end, I've got one more thing to show you. Before you complain, have you volunteered yet? So I'm just gonna leave y'all with that. You can do stuff to help me. You know, if you have a catering company that you'd like us to try out some week, you know, help me contact that catering company, but do one better. Come help me meet the person, help them unload the car, help me set up. So, you know, many hands make for light work, and I hope you all can help me in this endeavor. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mary. I know we're looking at a lot of different things, and we will be moving around also as far as our venue goes and our food goes. So keep that in
You
mind,
want to
and
go over
it's
there?
all an
Go, can you?
interesting
You know,
type of experience for us. And we're all going to sample a bunch of little things and try things out here this year. As I said, we go with the flow this year. It's a different year, and actually, it'll be sort of exciting to try something new every week, one way or another, even if it gets a little hectic one way or another. Also. Well, thank you again, Mary. I'm going to ask you to go and welcome our guests.
Okay, well, I think I've got most guests here. We've got Verna Williams, our main speaker today. We've got a semi-guest in Virginia McKenzie. She's still a member of our club, but also kind of a guest. We have Corinne Kavanaugh. We have Kathy B. We have Brendan and Chris McKenzie. And I think I got everyone. If I missed you, you can put your name in the chat and your association with the meeting, and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Excellent. And now let's go forth with our next part of the program.
I don't know, he was saying this is a time of changes and they started, I couldn't hear what his message was. Yeah.
Well, Fedva, if you would silence
I
yourself.
just thought I will listen. Virginia is going to be talking about her program, so.
It would be a very good idea if everyone silenced themselves unless you are part of the program right now. It gets a little bit confusing, and the noise background is not great. What I'd like to do now is to bring up Vicki Oxley, who is going to introduce our short program And of course, Vicki is head of our Seattle Rotary Service Foundation. So Vicki, take it away.
Thanks, President John. And as Mary already says, yes, I'm introducing Virginia, but she really doesn't need an introduction for many of us. She did join Seattle Rotary in 2007. And as you will see, she has truly built her career, her reputation on innovation and club expansion. She did start the Young Rotary Leader Program here a few years ago for Seattle 4, and she did help charter the Seattle City Rotaract. For the last 10 years, she set her sights on fighting sex trafficking. She's had a banner year of fantastic speaking engagements, and we're so pleased to get an update from her today. So please join me in welcoming Virginia to our Zoom stage.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me today. I have had a banner Rotary year, and I'm so excited to share it because interwoven in it is a success story, the importance and the reach of Seattle 4 Rotary. So I'm going to start this story in Melbourne. At the 2023 RI convention, I attended a cocktail reception for the Centennial Clubs, and some real Rotary magic happened. The Centennial president of the Calcutta Rotary noticed my name badge with the End Sex Trafficking Club on it. He didn't even greet me by name. He just locked eyes with me, pointed at my badge, and said, "What you're doing is important. I live in Calcutta, and we have the largest red light district in the world. It's 1 mile square with 6-story brothels in every direction, 16,000 sex workers. My mother-in-law rescues children born from sex workers, gives them an education, and breaks the cycle of intergenerational sexual exploitation. I'll show you the whole operation," he says. "You can be a guest in my home. It would be my honor to host you." This is literally where the conversation started. So we sat down at the edge of the reception, and he told me all about the laws against prostitution, but also the social mores around buying sex in Calcutta. Several Zoom calls later and 20 hours of flying, I was a guest in his home. And joining me is the president emeritus of the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery, Dave McCleary. And here we are at their Rotary, it's called the Rotary Building. This is where the Centennial Rotary Club meets in Calcutta. So it was a banner trip here in Calcutta. Next, I got to meet past president of Rotary International, Shekhar Mehta. He is working on literacy programs for all across India. So adult literacy in India is only like 80%, and largely that's women lacking literacy because they marry as young girls and they stop going to school. So we got to learn all about his program. Shekhar Mehta is the president that signed our charter paperwork for the End Sex Trafficking Club. So it was very special to meet him. And then we met the Missing Girl Project. So this is a project supported by Rotary Action Group Against Slavery. And it's all about bringing reliable, well-paid and dignified work, in this case, sewing, into these remote rural villages so that the girls do not go missing into the brothels of the city. Next, I met, these are acid survivors. So in situations where there's a scorned lover or angry family member that splashes acid in your face to blind you and basically ruin your life. I met a Rotarian attorney who helps them claim their benefits. So I just want to say I was just deeply inspired by all the amazing Rotarians who I met working to improve the status of women in India. So next, I was invited to address the Rotary International Assembly in January. So this is Rotary's annual global gathering of 535 district governors elect. This is the biggest audience I have ever addressed. There were 1,800 Rotary leaders and invited guests. My remarks were simultaneously translated into 7 different languages. I had a jumbo teleprompter and a walk-up song. This felt like big time for me. My message is simple. My message is this: the key for Rotary to stay relevant is leaning into modern day concerns. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, look no further than the headlines of our evening news. Where does our community need us most? I'm talking about the difficult problems like homelessness, addiction, the refugee crisis, sexual exploitation. When we bring the 4-way test to these difficult challenges, Rotary will magnetize new members and energize long-standing ones. That's my whole presentation in a nutshell. You didn't have to go to Orlando for that. Okay. Next, I was invited by last year's international president, Gordon McAnally, to be his representative to District 6560, their conference in Indianapolis. So, as we all know, Rotary is in a steep decline in North America. Everybody is very, very interested in the story of a legacy club like Seattle 4, sponsoring an innovative single cause Rotary Club like the Rotary Club of the Pacific Northwest, ending sex trafficking. Please let me underline, this is our success story together. My Rotary year wrapped up as a guest panelist at the Rotary International Convention in Singapore. And once again, I was a champion for Rotary tackling practical problems, whether in a legacy club like Seattle 4 and our future vision, or in a newer single cause club like the End Sex Trafficking Club. Next month, it keeps going, you guys. Oh my gosh. Next month, I go to Rotary International headquarters in Evanston for a reunion celebration of the Young Professionals Summit. So 10 years ago, 32 of us up and coming leaders were nominated and selected for this honor. And District 5030 was the only district with 2 honorees, myself and now District Governor Rochelle Bouchard, who I've circled in red. So, to put a button on all of this, I just want to say this. As a club, I know Seattle 4 is implementing a comprehensive future vision. Many clubs across North America are doing this. It is difficult work, and I am so proud that we're doing it. Okay, warning, I might cry a little bit now, you know I do. So as you reflect on your accomplishments as a club, I hope that you will count incubating me as a leader and launching the End Sex Trafficking Club as one of your accomplishments. What Seattle Rotary does matters. An upcoming collaboration I'm very pleased to announce between our 2 clubs is this. Seattle Rotary Service Foundation is supporting our End Sex Trafficking Club at the $300 level to deliver training to the Rotary Boys and Girls Club staff, 50 of them, to identify signs of sexual exploitation and respond appropriately. very pleased about this. Our End Sex Trafficking Club is having our anniversary party October 12th. I'll put the RSVP link in the chat. You're all invited. It was just 3 short years ago that we chartered, and I'm sure you remember Bill Center and Tom Sommerfeld performing at our charter party. It's the end of the line for sex trafficking, and we will do that song again. You'll see in the top right corner there, Michael Harris and Eric Lashever, who's a member of our End Sex Trafficking Club, and will lead the song for us. So thank you, everybody.
Well, Virginia, we are so proud of you as being part of our club, spreading the word around the world to Rotary International, and really proud that we have spawned your club. And of course, you continue to be a member of our club, and we are bound at the hip. And we are just so thrilled with what you've been able to do, and for both Rotary and for the community, and for making us very special at Seattle 4. So thank you very much. Well, now we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to have our program. And it's sort of exciting to be able to have a program when we do our Rotary Zooms like this. We can have people from different parts of the country and the world being able to be part of our club. And today we are very fortunate in having Verna Williams, who is the CEO of Equal Justice Works. In her role as CEO, Verna has continued to advance the mission of Equal Justice Works to create opportunities for leaders to transform their passion for equal justice into a lifelong commitment to public service. Just as an example, we had a presentation a few weeks ago by Leo Flor, who was talking about the World Cup. And Leo is an attorney who happened to start off his legal career as a recipient of one of Equal Justice Works fellowships, which is one of the great things that Equal Justice Works does. Talking a little bit more about Verna, though, that she previously served as the Dean of the University of Cincinnati's College of Law. Before that, she was Vice President and Director of Educational Opportunities at the National Women's Law Center, and she had successfully argued cases before the United States Supreme Court. Verna previously clerked for the Honorable David Nelson, who was a U.S. District Court Judge for the District of Massachusetts. And after her clerkship, she practiced law at a private firm and for the U.S. Department of Justice. She's a cum laude graduate of Harvard Law School and Georgetown University. And without further ado, I'm presenting to you Verna Williams. Take it away, Verna.
All right. Thank you so much, John. And just a slight edit there. I only argued one case in front of the United States Supreme Court, so that I could say that I won all my cases. So it's not several, it's just one.
Well, we'll give you more than one anyway, Verna.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for inviting me to participate. I'm really pleased to be here with you today. Thanks to Mary and all the organizers for making it happen. And especially thanks to John Bridge for his commitment to Equal Justice Works. And that very generous introduction, he didn't mention that. John is a longstanding supporter of Equal Justice Works. He is a gem. I couldn't resist. I had to say you were a gem. Okay. So my charge today is to talk about Equal Justice Works, which I've had the great privilege of leading for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in September. Equal Justice Works is best known for launching public interest attorneys through our fellowship program. After 36 years in that business, it's clear to me that we're part of a larger project that both encompasses and goes beyond our fellows. And that is about making the legal system just and fair. To paraphrase Howard University law professor Justin Hansford, today in this country, you can lose your home, your financial independence, and even your child as a result of a civil court hearing where your opponent has access to legal counsel and you do not. That's neither just nor fair. And Equal Justice Works exists to address that problem. Okay. I wanted to share my screen without actually saying I'm going to share my screen. I was inspired by Virginia. She was so smooth in how she did this. Okay, but we're not getting the view I want. There we go. We're still not getting. Are you seeing just the screen or the screen with the next screen coming up?
We're showing both, Verna.
Okay,
You have her phone number?
let me try one more time. Please excuse my the issue I'm having here. All right.
Hmm?
You call
All
her
right.
on WhatsApp.
Okay, there we go. All right, so Equal Justice Works is about
I
addressing
have her
this
phone number.
access to justice problem. And again, I'll reiterate John's request that everybody mute themselves because I'm very easily distracted. Okay, so okay, law students founded Equal Justice Works in 1986 to support opportunities in public interest law. Back then, we were known as NAPL, the National Association for Public Interest Law. Since that time, though, we've had over 2,700 fellows go through our program, working to make equal justice for all a reality. Today, millions of Americans don't have legal assistance when facing life-changing situations, and they've got to navigate these complex legal situations by themselves. Our primary strategy for addressing this crisis has been growing and mobilizing a community of advocates. And our focus has been on lawyers. Our program identifies or connects attorneys with opportunities to make a difference in communities across our country, usually at the beginning of their careers. Our network is vast and our impact is deep. Over 90% of ABA accredited law schools are members of Equal Justice Works. Partnerships with law firms, corporations, foundations, state and local governments, among others, have enabled us to field over 2,700 fellows, the vast majority of whom remain in public interest after their fellowships end. Put differently, our investment in fellows strengthens the public interest sector by launching new careers, programs that otherwise wouldn't have been funded, and engaging sponsors in pro bono projects that advance the work. Now, it may sound like our work is done. I mean, we've had great success in terms of the number of fellows, in terms of the dollars raised to support them, in terms of all of those measures of impact that I just mentioned. But as it'll surprise nobody that a lot of work remains. The issue that's animating our efforts is what's referred to as the access to justice gap, which may be a term familiar to many, if not most of you. But if you haven't heard it, what it means is it's referring to the fact that for people below and even above the poverty line, legal assistance is out of reach. 92% of people living in poverty don't get the necessary legal help according to the Legal Services Corporation. In 2022, the Legal Services Corporation reported that they turned away 49% of people coming to them for help. And Arizona State University professor Rebecca Sandifer, who is a MacArthur genius, she's extensively researched this issue and estimates that as many as 10 million legal problems go unresolved annually. Actually, that's 150 million. It's 150 million problems. And to concretize that, that's a homeowner struggling to reconcile FEMA regulations with their insurance policy after a flood, or a mom who's seeking an order of protection against an abusive partner, or a grandmother struggling to find housing because her daughter has a criminal record. All these folks are going it alone. What's more, the number of lawyers focusing on populations with great need is very small. According to the ABA, fewer than 1% of all lawyers are paid legal aid attorneys. So what's our role in this addressing the crisis? Our primary strategy has been the fellowship program and connecting passionate leaders with legal services organizations to kickstart careers in public interest law. What we're doing next is we are looking forward to making public interest law even more accessible, focusing on enhancing our fellowship program by infusing it with our values of equity, diversity, and inclusion, as well as continuing to build capacity at host organizations and fostering pro bono networks. Here, an example of how we work is fellow Morgan Colonna here. Morgan helped clients navigate unlawful evictions in Richmond, Virginia, which holds the unfortunate distinction of being home to the nation's second highest eviction rate. And so, partnering with Virginia Commonwealth University Health, Morgan created a medical legal project. And in this project, healthcare providers and social workers screen patients for potential legal issues, as well as checking their blood pressure and their pulse, for example. And so if there's an issue that could result in a patient becoming unhoused, the providers would refer patients to Morgan. Morgan's project offers a systems-wide solution to the compounded problem of lack of housing and poor medical outcomes. And her efforts were made possible by the JPB Foundation, which funded the project, Central Virginia Legal Aid Society, which agreed to fold legal issues into the protocols for treating patients and to help them break the cycle of housing instability and the attendant health consequences. So we've had a lot of success. We've made a great impact. When I joined the organization, one thing I pledged to do was to keep us moving in this positive direction. But, I am the first new CEO in 30 years. And so coming with that is change. Amid these changes, though, what's constant is our deep and abiding commitment to making the legal system fair and equal. We seek to build on 37 years of progress toward a new era of impact and innovation, and we're focusing on 3 key areas. First is enhancing our fellowship program. That's our bread and butter, the fellowship program. And our strategic visioning process evinced a desire to ensure that our values of equity, diversity, and inclusion were embedded throughout that program. Among the strategies that we're considering is a project focused on racial justice, helping communities of color gain economic empowerment, for example, by addressing heirs property issues. Secondly, recognizing the sheer scale of the access to justice crisis, we know that we've got to have more hands on deck. And so we're also seeking to create 2 new fellowship programs, one that is pre-law in nature, and a second that builds a workforce of community justice workers that is training people in communities like organizers or social workers or even physicians assistants to help them provide assistance to people where you may not necessarily lead an attorney. And there's been growing success in different jurisdictions with using non-lawyers to fill some of these needs. And finally, we want to make the case for representation, why representation for people with legal issues matters. And to do that, we want to develop our own research and data analytics capacity toward the end of engaging in public education about the injustices that are endemic in our civil justice system. The popular press is schooled on issues like mass incarceration and far less so on related matters, related matters like fines and fees that can lead to incarceration. We also seek to develop the capacity to collect and analyze data to develop evidence-based approaches to this problem. This holistic approach focuses on shoring up the public interest sector to ensure much needed assistance will be available to the people in communities across this country. Our North Star is ensuring that the legal system is just and equal. And so in that brief period of time, I've given you an overview of where we've come, the impact that we've had, and where we seek to go. As I said at the beginning, we are motivated to address this access to justice problem because we want to live in a world where the legal system is just and fair, where people don't have to worry about losing their home or their financial independence or even their children without having somebody standing up in court with them in these life-changing circumstances. And so with the time that I have left, I'm happy to open the floor and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation and explaining what you go through. 37 years of constant good change, and now you're at the helm, so it's a big responsibility. So we have some questions. My first is, and then we'll get to some others. What are some, you said non-lawyers that can perform some like everyday citizens to help in your cause? What are their duties? What are their obligations? What can a non-lawyer do?
Okay, so in some jurisdictions, well, let me just back up. In most jurisdictions, there are rules that require only lawyers to handle legal problems. That's just laws that recognize that are calling. And if you're not a lawyer, you could find yourself in trouble for the unauthorized practice of law. However, there's a growing number of jurisdictions that are experimenting and lifting those regulations to allow people without law degrees to handle limited problems. So for example, and this is the best example, is in Alaska. Alaska Legal Services is located in a state that has vast legal deserts. Their people are not, they're spread all over the state. And they don't have very many lawyers. They don't have nearly enough lawyers to answer the questions of low-income folks living there. So what Alaska Legal Services did was come up with a program that would train physicians assistants, dental assistants, social workers to help with SNAP benefits. These are the benefits for people who are food insecure. Because that was the real burning problem that was happening in Alaska. And they had great success with that. They were able to do that because the Supreme Court of the state of Alaska lifted the unauthorized practice of law regulations for that particular purpose. And so what I'm talking about, we will be able to help out and be part of this movement in the states that are already experimenting. And off the top of my head, I think it's Arizona, it's Alaska, I think Oregon had something. And I think it would be, I also envision us engaging in some advocacy to push more state courts to do the same thing. Because the fact it's true that there are some issues that people deal with that don't require an attorney, and it's widely held in the public interest field that we're not going to we're not going to lawyer ourselves out of this problem. If every single lawyer in this country did pro bono work, there still would be this gaping hole. So what we're trying to do is leverage what we know best, the fellowship, and employ it with another group of people.
Okay, it sounds like there's some need and help from others. Now our next question with Jan Levy. Beyond funding, what are your biggest leadership challenges in the current politicized environment?
Well, I mentioned at the outset that we went through a strategic visioning process and involved all of our stakeholder groups, our board of counselors, board of directors, our alumni, our fellows. I mean, everybody. And what emerged was this desire to focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion. And the Supreme Court decided Students for Fair Admission the day before we presented it to the board of directors. And so, of course, even though the Supreme Court's decision is focused on higher ed, and even though the court's decision itself provides some room for the use of race, many in if you are monitoring DEI like I am, you're just seeing story after story after story about corporations and different companies rolling back on diversity, equity, inclusion because they are concerned about their legal exposure. So that's a challenge. Wanting to do this work and being committed to doing this work. And I'll just say, the fact that we lifted up race is something that we want to, and say that this is something we are focused on. It doesn't mean we weren't focusing on it. It is just recognizing that there's power in stating, this is our intention. We want to produce advocates that are really trained in all of the different ways inequality exists in our society. That's a challenge that I foresee in the future. We have yet to, I've only had one person articulate a real concern and actually say that he didn't want to be involved with us any longer without, we didn't want to talk to me about it. But I think, that's going to be a challenge. But we are committed to the work because we recognize the role, we're doing this in a way that should not cause any hackles. I mean, our fellowships are open to everyone. There's no discrimination that is occurring here. But I raise that as a, the divisive environment in which we operate sometimes suggests that people shouldn't even say certain words, which is problematic to say the least.
So they're saying that they can't say certain words, or is this a proponent of free speech here? I'm trying to understand that last part right there.
The last part is
Go ahead.
I think we need to mute echo. All I'm saying, the challenges are making people feel like they can't say what they're doing up front, and that they're not going to work on issues of race. And I feel like that's a problem. You should be able to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So President John Bridge has a question. He's thrilled about the expansion, and he told us that there's been 2,700 fellowship grantees. So you mentioned one of those fellows. Can you give us some other examples?
Sure. I was just in the class of 2024, I was just talking to a reporter for the University of Minnesota. They've got two fellows that are graduates of University of Minnesota Law School, one of whom is going to work with immigrants and who are at risk of being deported. I mean, that's another situation in which people find themselves unrepresented. And we know that when people are represented, they have better outcomes. He's going to work on that project. And then there's another, the other person is working on representing people who have been incarcerated and assisting them with different legal issues that they bump into as they're getting back into society. I mean, sometimes there are, regulations about certain jobs that they can and cannot hold. So she'll help on those legal issues, as well as engaging in making sure that they get the social supports that they need. So that's an interesting part of her project is she's at an organization that is providing holistic assistance to folks that are reentering society, which I think is a very promising and innovative solution to this problem. And I think the indications are in other areas that that's a kind of thing that helps to cut down on recidivism.
Yeah.
So that's two projects off the top of my head.
Oh, I love it. I love it, especially the holistic aspect. I'm a big fan of like make sure you get your 7 hours, get some grounding in your life, some sunlight. There's a lot of different things that can really help you out. And there's so many ways in how you go about this. It's beautiful to hear and how
Yeah.
everyone's doing it. So here's an interesting question. Do celebrity efforts to promote criminal justice equity help or hurt the cause in your opinion?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have an empirical answer to that. I think they help in the sense that they draw attention to the issue.
Some awareness.
So yeah, so if people are seeing, and we know now that people get their news from social media. So if folks are looking at TikTok and they see, I'm woefully behind on pop culture figures, so I can't even throw out somebody. I mean, like, Snoop Dogg talking about something, then oh wow, Snoop is talking about this. I mean, I should pay attention to it. So in that sense, it can help. And I have to say, I mean, when it comes to like mass incarceration,
Mhm.
there has been a fair amount of attention paid. I mean, I think Brian Stevenson, he's not he's a celebrity. In our world, he's a celebrity. He's an icon in our world. His book, Just Mercy, if you haven't read it, you must, was turned into a movie, which I haven't seen, but I will. But his book, in addition to Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, really put mass incarceration on the map and had lots of folks, talking about the need to get smart on crime
Yeah.
and, funders, paying attention to addressing it. Now, I wish I could say that that's been enough to solve that problem, but at least there are eyes on the problem and
Yeah.
it's, something that folks understand. We need our own just mercy for the civil justice area. I think
Okay.
people are really, I don't think people know the extent to which folks are just not getting representation in life-changing legal matters.
Right.
And they don't know the impact that has on society. Um, you know, I, I one of the things that really I think just intensified my interest in access to justice happened when I was the dean at University of Cincinnati Law School. We partnered with the municipal court to develop something called the Help Center, where there'd be an attorney and some volunteers who could provide representation to folks, not representation, excuse me, they could answer questions to unrepresented litigants. And they told me about one of the folks that they helped was a woman who was confronting an eviction. And she's fighting the eviction. She had to go to court, but she doesn't have a car. And it's in Cincinnati, not a city that has like a metro or anything like that. It has a bus system, but the bus was late. She got to the court. She got caught in this really huge line to go through security. And by the time she got to the courtroom, her case had been called and she'd been found in default. And so she was on her way to being evicted. And I was just like, and she was just like, just standing in the hall. What do I do? And somebody said, well, there is the help center. You could go there. And so she went to the help center, and the happy ending is they were able to assist her. But for me, the question was, what kind of justice system is that? You can be evicted from your home because you don't have the means to get down to court. You don't have the in time, and your case is called and you're out. I mean, it just boggles my mind. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that is the kind of thing that's just strengthened my commitment to this. So the point being back to your question is, people need to know that this kind of thing happens.
Yes, and the celebrities do help with sharing these kind of things, and which is pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great to see that help desk there. Here's our last question here. Do newly minted lawyers, from my great Pete Delaney, get help with student loan debt if they get in they get into the public interest legal field, similar to other professions such as teaching and healthcare?
Yeah, well, one of the things, and this is something that we work on as well, there's a federal program called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and it is available for anybody who is working in public service. So if you pay your loans for 10 years and you're in good standing and you're in the public interest field, your loans will be forgiven. And the first wave of folks eligible have benefited from the program. We got involved because during the Trump administration's Department of Education wanted to eliminate the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and we were able to pull together a coalition to fight against elimination of that program. And then with the change in administrations, we've worked with the Department of Education to make the program more accessible. Because it's one thing for it to be available and not to be on the chopping block, but if the rules are so Byzantine, or if the administration of it is so is not fair, then there's a problem as well. So we work for folks to get that, and so that is one resource that's available to people, recognizing they have to wait 10 years. There also, though, are programs like loan repayment assistance programs that sometimes different employers offer. We offer that for the fellows. And there is another program that's income-based repayment. So the amount that the graduate pays can be lowered based on the income that they're earning. So there are a variety of different mechanisms that can help people who want to go into public interest law, but are dealing with substantial student loan debt.
Understood. Thank you for sharing. And man, we want to get one more. Can you do this in 30 seconds? Last question about bear relief for low
I
income persons.
probably even less because I know so little.
Oh, okay, fair. That's good.
Okay,
Well, thank you for
I'll
your
try.
time. It's been great. I always kind of
Yeah,
hope.
I'll try it. What's the question? I'll do what I can.
It's about bail relief
What's the
for
question?
low. It's about it's okay. We're kind of running out of time here.
Oh,
We're gonna have
okay.
to move forward. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy and everything you've done. It's been great. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
to President John.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all of that. Just to piggyback on a little of the things that Verna was talking about, in as far as public interest law involvement, of those that graduate from the University of Washington Law School, thanks to the Gates Foundation, basically, they are given, and Pete would like to hear this, they are given the opportunity to reduce all of their debts thanks to that. So it's done through the law school, and so that's there. And one other thing I just wanted to point out to everybody on the line right now, Annie Ramirez is one of our members, and she is in charge of the Endowment for Equal Justice, which is part and parcel of the Law Fund of Washington. And the Law Fund of Washington does provide dollars for civil legal aid for those people that are in poverty or near poverty. And so just so that we know that that is something that is done here in Washington State, and it piggybacks on what Equal Justice Works has been working on a national basis. We want to thank you very much again, Verna, for being here, and on behalf of our Seattle Rotary Service Foundation, we are going to provide 600 meals to Harvest Against Hunger in our locale on your behalf with your name attached to that. So thank you very much. That's our donation for you. I also want to thank at this particular point REB Enterprises and Carl Benke, as well as Bloodworks Northwest, for their meeting sponsorship and support. Given that, we also have on the screen here our donors. It keeps getting changed here, Mary. I'm getting different things on here. Our recent Rotary Club donors are listed, and we certainly appreciate that for our blood donors. And we can see those happy people getting, I guess, nicked, and giving of their blood. Anyway, given all of that, we're done with that, and we're going to move on to our club announcements from our Sergeant at Arms, Jaime. Go ahead.
Okay, beginning with next Wednesday, September 4th at 11:30 a.m., we have our member retention meeting, always a good one. It will be held at the Plymouth Church, I believe a floor below, followed by our luncheon with Kate Riley of the Seattle Times. So please come to the Plymouth Church, and the deadline to purchase your tickets is this Friday. The following week on Wednesday at 6 p.m. evening, we have our evening event at the Mohai. So it's a private tour with the executive director and club friend, Leonard Garfield. There will be no food or beverage, but you got to sign up on our Mayberry. It's free to attend. It'll be great to mingle. It'll be great to see everyone there, and it's always a good time. The following Wednesday on September 18th, we have our lunch meeting with Dr. Dory Bjorn Jensen of Washington State University's Dean of Veterinary Medicine. It will be held at the Plymouth Church. Deadline for the tickets is Friday, September 13th. And last will be next Wednesday, September 25th, 12:30, our Zoom-only lunch meeting with Dr. Richard Kerman of the Smithsonian, how he has played a major role in the development of the Smithsonian Museum system. It should be a good one. And I always wanted to say this, not always, but recently, I wish we can call it a new golden age held forward with away from the mass incarceration to the mass rehabilitation. We need to heal up, everyone. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jaime. And we're coming to a close for our meeting. We're going to try and stay on schedule, so I won't say too many things. But I like to end with what happened on this date, on August 28th. So on August 28th of 1833, there was the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, which received royal assent and making the purchase of ownership of slaves illegal in the British Empire, a little before we did it in our country. In 1955, this is a rather sad thing, but something that we all need to remember. Emmett Till was lynched in Mississippi in many of our lifetimes. On a positive end of things, in 1963, in the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King gave his Have a Dream speech. And just so that you know, today is National Grandparents' Day in Mexico. And with that, I am adjourning us.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you all so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Verna.
Thank you.